All right, hi, my name is Stephen Diebold, and we're going to continue on. This is part two of the little piece on nurturing. And so, what I had left off in the last video was what happens to somebody when they are basically building themselves up. They've felt, how they try to reprogram themselves to feel good about themselves and try to tie in um, some of all of the work they've been reading, books, anywhere they've gone, and then they've tried to have a good sense of self. And now they go out into the world, and what happens? They go out of this thing. See this thing? This is Google or the internet, and what is this? It's a popularity contest. Is what happens is they go out and they see all this messaging for how to be popular, and so they start running a comparison really quickly. So they've done all this work, build themselves up. They feel good about themselves. They change their report card. They have a sense of scoring that feels like it's reasonable, and they can feel good about themselves based on the scoring system they've set up. That they feel, hey, I feel good about me. That's all that matters. Yeah. Here's what happens. They go out here. They look at all these the popularity stuff. They see these people, and then what do? They go here. They go onto the Facebook. And what happens here? This is the giant popularity contest. All social media is literally a bunch of people ratcheting up the level of popularity. Listen, me, listen to me, listen to me. Here's what I'm doing, and can I come up with a cute post or a video or whatever? And this guy has 8 million some odd people on his little page here with his community and so on and so forth. And this is Ashton Kutcher. If any of you don't know who that is, um, these are the types of people that we're aspiring either to not be like, but have their popularity or their, what fame is. Everyone wants that 15 seconds or 15 minutes, whatever you want to call it, of fame. And so here's what happens. And let's get into this a little bit further as we move into our next piece. Um, he gets criticized again and again and again, or his experiences are negative again, again, and again. So, really, the most interesting thing about this is when you go along with this metric system and you're living with this kind of means of evaluating yourself, um, he goes out and he reads all those things and he tries to reprogram himself with these positive thoughts. He goes back out into the world. He's given criticism, negative thoughts, or negative experiences that don't coincide with how he's reprogrammed himself in some way. And so there's this constant battle that's happening for all of these people that are in our society today. I think all these people I showed you on Google, if we go back to them, we see these people here thinking these things about themselves. I'm not talented, I'm not very smart, not pretty enough, not good enough. And where did they get all of this stuff? Where did all these thoughts come from? Where did they arrive at these beliefs? They didn't just magically happen. They didn't just magically wake up and start thinking these things. This person didn't just magically wake up and think and start in that position. And there wouldn't be all this riffraff on Google if people were just waking up and feeling great, or needing to boost their self-esteem. That none of these pictures or images would be here on Google. Yet you see all of this stuff here. So people are waking up in the world today for some odd reason, not feeling too hot about themselves. And some don't experience that as much as others. And so the reason I think others don't experience that as often as the ones who are feeling, as far as the ones who do not feel positive about themselves versus the ones that do, I think the distinct difference between them is how much nurturing they are getting. Now, I did point back and say this Joe over here, wasn't feeling too hot about himself. He went through and read a bunch of books on self-esteem or how to feel good about himself, whatever. He does the whole positive mantra thing, does his best. Then he goes back out in the world and he gets criticized, and he's negative, and it's not controllable. And this is the external joy that he's trying to get, or external, fuel tank he's trying to draw from. If this was a giant fuel tank and this had, good stuff in it, this was the positive tank of good that he's trying to get from society so he can feel good about himself, whatever that means, whether that means getting a giant house, that this is what society deems as good and as a status, whether that's a pretty girl, whether that's money, whether that's better looks, whatever those things are that come from this perceived, tank of good that he thinks he's going to draw from so he can feel good about himself. This will never work. So we've been illustrating over and over again this nurturing thing. Now, how do you get that? And this is the hardest thing I think that happens for a person living in today's society is these giant measuring sticks here. Measure, measure, measure. Everything's measured in business and personal life and stocks. You have stocks. You're always measuring how your stocks are doing. You're measuring how your bank account is doing. You're measuring how your spouse is doing, how they're filling your needs. Everyone's getting measured. So with this constant measuring system, everyone is always looking and having some type of external force acting upon them and driving this system of metrics that comes up with some, magic number. Whether you get a 40 or a 60 for one day or whatever it is your score is for the day. What I think is necessary in order for this to be resolved is one has to really get a good sense of why they feel the way they do about themselves. Now, here's an important part to this to keep this really simple. If you have two pictures of you, you have a conscience, and you're in society and you're trying to be a better person, and this is your report card you give on yourself, A, C, D, B, then you kind of grade yourself on these whatever things that you've determined makes a good person, whether you're looking outwardly or inwardly, and you're scoring yourself all the time. I think what has to change about this in order to get the right nurturing that we need internally, because if we're looking out into the world constantly to get fed, we're never going to be fed to feel positive about ourselves. There's always going to be a negative message. You're always going to see a billboard. You have an advertising industry that has, God only knows, billions of dollars to keep pumping messages, 3,000 messages a day into our system to basically tell us that we're not good enough or that we're missing something or there's some gap in our life that we should resolve today and spend money on. And so when you have that kind of programming and media influence, your chances of that, along with your peer groups and your people that you're hanging out with and environments that you're in, of them giving you positive feedback, is rare. Those people that do have it, I think those are the people that are constantly feeling positive about themselves. They have a more positive environment than those that don't have a positive environment, and that's what's pushing along their level of nurturance. Now they are being fed by this kind of like external source, which is kind of helping them. But I would wonder how that person might do if they did not have that external environment assisting them and giving them nurturance. Would they wind up like Joe? And so when you look at that and you're trying to get along in society, you're unable to get this kind of supportive system going in your life, you need to work towards getting that going, I think, and building a positive, reinforcing environment for yourself to keep helping you reinforce to win this race, because I think life is a race of this constant stuff that's going on, and this is a marathon of how do you basically feel good about yourself. And then there's times that you should feel bad about yourself, and I think that's where I was getting to is this report card is when you're sitting there scoring yourself and you're comparing that against, what are you comparing it against? And that's what the key ingredient to this little video is what are you grading yourself on? And you know, what are the standards you're using to grade yourself? Are they society standards that is out here? And you're letting them control how you grade yourself, or have you decided you found some kind of internal kind of set of standards for yourself, and that this is what the report card you need to match it against, and that you're looking to something higher than yourself as well, with with positive standards that you look to, whether you believe that's God or whether you believe that's some other thing for you, whatever it is. The standards need to be something other than what they currently are right now if they are too tied into society. So if this is the standards that you're going to use to evaluate yourself, you should be really careful about what those standards are, because you're going to be needing some of this to be nurturing you as well, because there's going to be always a gap here because no one's perfect. But the way you evaluate yourself and what you evaluate yourself on should be the most careful consideration you ever make. Because if you get this little system wrong here of how you set up those standards, like I've done in the other previous videos, and you look at all this, picture of what I've assembled here, which is a bit, broken up and so on and so forth. The most important thing is what you're thinking about you and why you're thinking a certain way about you. And if you look at why you're thinking a certain way about you, you'll probably find that it's because this report card here is broken in some way and really needs to be reevaluated. And there's someone or people in your life or something or yourself that you're looking towards on the outside that's driving this report card, and you're going to constantly be in this state like this guy is, Joe. And when you do fix this report card here, you're going to come back to more of this state of this guy and feeling good about yourself and having the right reasons to feel good about yourself, and know the difference between when you should feel good about yourself and when you should feel bad about yourself for a bit, because there's something you need to remedy and resolve a bit, and that you need to fix that. But what is it that you need to fix, and what are those things? And those are different for everybody. But I think if you get these things broken of what you're trying to fix, if it's not fixable and it shouldn't be fixed, you're going to spend a lot of time not liking yourself, and that's too much time. And some people that should not like themselves for what they've done, they need time to think about what they've done and resolve those things, because they're terrible. Things that they do to themselves and other people. But if you're not doing those types of things to other people around you, then you really have to look at why you're thinking this way about yourself, because everybody has a conscience. Conscience. Oh, I hate to. I'm gonna spell this wrong. Conscience. I know I probably spelled that wrong, but whatever. Everybody has this conscience, and when you're doing something you shouldn't be, it kind of speaks out to you. And those people that don't have a conscience, you should be watching out for them, because those are the dangerous ones in our society. So until then, I hope you got something from this and you figured this out. Maybe you'll evaluate your report card and take that, how you think about yourself, and reevaluate it, and maybe find some reasons to think good about yourself and spend more time doing that. And then also being careful about the times where you do need to reevaluate what you're doing in this world and how you think about yourself, because some of those things might need to be adjusted. And that's it. I thank you again. And until next video, we'll talk more about how you can actually get to that point the next time.